Hi, everybody. Welcome. Here with today with the incredible Elie Dagher. Hi, Eli. It's good to see you, brother. I'm really looking
Very good to
forward
see you.
to this experience. Um, so, all of you that are listening to this, welcome. Um, Let me introduce myself briefly. My name is John Martinez. I'm the CEO and founder at an events technology company called Logic. And I am passionate about the development of human potential. And I absolutely adore to see the members of my team growing and developing. And in iShock Logic, we love to simplify the lives of event organizers. And Eli has helped us with that. He has worked with our teams. I would say that all of the members of all of the leadership, at least, or a good portion of the members of the team have attended Eli's workshops and work. And actually, I attended every single one of them with the rest of my team. So I went like four times or five times, I don't know. So I'm very excited about this because I think that we got a lot. My team got a lot, Eli, from what they were able to discuss with you. So thank you very much.
Great. I'm very happy to hear that. I've heard it from you before, and every time I hear it is the same satisfaction. It was great to have you and your team.
You, fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. It was great for us too. We discussed it for. We're still discussing it. We're still taking some of the learnings that we had from the sessions with you, and we're able to put it in place and become us individually become better leaders, but then become a better team. So each one of us individually to be able to grow and develop. And this is endless journey, right, of development that doesn't stop. and
Yeah.
um, and then how do we create better spaces? Um, so Eli,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about you and tell us a little bit about Lead from Within and where's it coming from, etc.
Yes. Yeah. Um, I've been thinking about where I'm going to start to with about me and what I want to share. I think I'm the founder of Lead from Within, which can be categorized as a leadership development organization, but also a coaching organization. I think that at the core, I'm dedicated to the development of human potential, like you do. I'm deeply passionate about it for myself and for others, and I have found ways through my education, through my experience, through my interest, to be able to support individuals and teams. And some of these ways are deep coaching processes, or emotional intelligence, team dynamics, um, and what I call self leadership, what is called self leadership, which is the leadership from within, the concept that we're all leaders at heart, not the least leaders of our own lives. And coming from that place, I believe, is very powerful, both for us, but for our teams, for our surroundings. So I link between self leadership and collective leadership. And I'm originally Lebanese, which is my blessing and my curse at the same time. I've lived in many places, so I consider myself a citizen of the world. And today I'm actually traveling the world on a self leadership project. I'm walking my talk. I'm living the life that I want to live, and working with the type of clients that I want to work with. And I'm very excited. I'm quarantined in Brazil right now, so all of the work is virtual, but the coaching is still happening. The workshops are still happening. More of them are happening, actually, and I'm very excited to be doing this with you now, John, to be taking that opportunity.
Brilliant, brother. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, you're in Brazil. We're so sad for you. uh,
Yeah, I have a
Wow.
hard time looking at the beach and spending my time close to the beach and swimming in the water every day.
Oh my God, we're so sad for you. You have such a horrible life, you know. I don't know how you bear it. um, okay, so if we were to break down, Eli, what we're going to be covering today, why don't we take a look at a bit of the structure that we're going to be covering, so the audience can sort of play it out and see how it's going to work. How do you see it happening?
Sure, yes, that sounds great. I think covering the points of, I'd really like this to be a practical interview for our audience to be able to understand in very simple words, very simple concepts, what emotional intelligence is, what are some effective functions of team dynamics, what self leadership is, and how they can be most engaged in their work and life. And if people come out with an understanding, a simple understanding, but actions that they can act upon and see immediate results, I think that's we hit the spot. I think that we hit the spot that way.
Cool,
What do you
cool.
say?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Yeah.
So how you explain emotional intelligence? What do you what is that? Or
Yeah.
what is the concept of emotional intelligence that you use?
Yeah. There are many books on the subject, and Daniel Goleman has written what is the Bible of emotional intelligence, and it can go very deep in terms of explaining what it is. In the spirit of keeping it simple for myself and for others, the way that I like to describe emotional intelligence is to just um, mention the five most important skills of emotional intelligence. Just like any type of intelligence, I would say that emotional intelligence is, if we develop those five skills, then it's going to serve us just like having a higher IQ is going to serve us on specific intellectual topics. But emotional topics are our quality of life day to day. They are our quality of our relationships day to day. They are the quality of our decisions day to day, and more of this. How effective can we be? How do we perform under pressure? Many things like that. The most important, I would say, the most important five skills of emotional intelligence is one, the awareness of self or mindfulness, truly being self-aware of what is happening, of our experience. Um, and believe it or not, a lot of it is subconscious to us. A lot of it is a gray area, if not a complete dark area in our lives. The second is the ability to manage oneself. So, okay, I'm aware of what's happening, but now can I do something about it? Can I act productively, proactively, and not react destructively? The third one is social or surrounding awareness. So it's awareness of our environment, awareness of if we're having a one-on-one conversation, awareness of the other. It's a sense of being in tune with the environment. And the fourth one is managing the relationship with the environment. Right? So again, with that awareness, what do we do? And the fifth one that I like to talk about, because I think it's really important, and it's a chicken and egg, it's a feedback loop, is empathy. The more empathy we have, the more we can be performant in those skills, but also the more we develop those skills, the more empathy we have. And empathy, I believe, is at the core of it. At the core of truly being in tune and being in connection with other people, with our surroundings, which makes us better managers, which makes us better contributors, better partners, everything. So that's how I would describe emotional intelligence.
Okay. Um, and why would you think that emotional intelligence is something that is important in leadership?
Yeah, I'm going to make the assumption that when you ask about in leadership, I'm asking in
Yeah,
management or
yeah, maybe it's important to identify, right? To define what leadership is.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I make the
Would you
distinction
define
between,
leadership? Yeah.
sure, sure. I make a distinction between leadership and management. Yeah, so I believe that we are all leaders at heart, and we're leaders of our own lives. And at the end of the day, we are the owners of our decisions. Even not making a decision is a decision that we make. And for me, under that pretext, we're all leaders. And it's by giving away that responsibility, by giving away that power, that we get into trouble, we get into unideal situations. So I like to make the distinction between leadership and management, where, okay, management are people who are appointed to be in charge. CEOs, VPs, managers, great. And they have very specific responsibilities, and a lot of their responsibilities is to manage a specific environment, is to create a culture. Whether they're a CEO or whether they're managers, even managers are creating subcultures within their teams. And I think, as managers, even the name says it, the job description of a manager, the first job description of a manager is to manage people. Now, to effectively manage people, it's very important to understand people, it's very important to relate to people, it's very important to understand oneself. And this is where emotional intelligence, I believe, is the #1 skill in all of it. With more emotional intelligence, the culture is more effective, and not only more effective, there's more well-being in the culture. There's more understanding. Tell me if you want me to go in more details, but I think that, on a
I think I think that difference between a manager and a leader is actually quite helpful to help identify, so we're all calling the same animal with the same name, right? So we all these things are so intangible. So I feel that defining labels it is actually quite important when we're talking about things that are intangible, and so that really helps, right? So okay, so we got the difference between a manager and a leader, right?
May
Yeah.
I ask you a question, John?
Yeah.
For you as a CEO of a company, managing 60 plus people all over the world, what is helpful to you about that distinction between a leader and a manager?
Yeah, I think that everybody wants to be led, and not everyone wants to be managed. And I think that when we lead, we inspire. A manager sort of has to pull or push. It's my feeling, and a leader is followed in a way, right? So very much like you were defining it and you were explaining it, how we are leaders, at least of our own lives. We're leaders, right? We lead our own lives, and we not everyone. I do understand. There's something else that I encounter in groups and in the company and as I lead teams, is that the moment that you mention leadership, people think that they will be placed in positions of authority. So there is this lack of congruence between leadership and managing, and authority and responsibility for others, right? So, and that's something that I found people at different stages in their lives would really shy away from, because they thought um, what am I getting into? You know, I don't want to be a leader. I just want to do my job. I just want to come to work every day, and I want to do my job, and I want to go home, right? So I tend to say, if that's what you want, then there might be other companies out there that are not shock logic, where where you could be happy and you can, you know, flourish and be successful. At Shock Logic, we want one of our values, the number one or first value is leadership as a way of living. That's why when we initially spoke, leading from within spoke so loudly to me.
Yeah.
It made so much sense because what I want is a team where we're all leaders. That doesn't mean that you have to lead people, but for me, leadership also brings ownership, responsibility, responsibility in the sense of the ability to respond, you know, and showing up and raising the hand and picking up the flag and running with it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I run in front, sometimes you run in front. Sometimes I piggyback on you because I'm tired, and then sometimes I carry you, you know, and you carry me, and like that. It's just teamwork, right? That's what I love
Yeah.
about teams, and that is what um, that's what just inspires me, and I can't get up early enough in the morning in order to witness the the growth and the thriving of the members of my team. So that's my long-winded answer
Yes.
to your short question.
Yeah. Yes. There are two things that come for me when you say that. The first one is, for me, really leadership has to come with a sentiment of empowerment. If there is no sentiment of empowerment, then leadership is not happening. Something else is happening. Whether it's leadership being offered, so someone being led, or someone leading, the sense of empowerment has to be there. Um, is what I found. And the second thing is, I just want to reflect back. Uh, in all honesty, I've worked in quote unquote corporate settings for 7 years, and I wanted to hear CEOs speak vulnerably that way about,
Mm.
well, first of all, wanting their people to grow for sure, but also that they're humans too, and sometimes they need to take a step back because they're tired, and ask for someone to support um, in that space. And instead, in all honesty, what I heard was we hit this quarter's numbers, and we need to do better next quarter. But anyhow, it's
I think that is that it becomes a deterrent a little bit for people towards the corporate world in a way. You know, I feel there's so much fear-based initiatives. There's so much fear-based um, actions.
yeah,
Um, that we're being led by fear in many ways. So we didn't hit the numbers, we didn't accomplish this, we didn't succeed at that, we didn't. So we're constantly looking at what we're lacking, and hardly ever looking at what we are achieving, you know, and the opportunities, you know, it's amazing. There's so much stuff that we can be doing, and we keep on concentrating on what's um, what we don't have, rather than it's all the stuff that we have, you know. Yeah.
yeah,
Also, I think that there is I think up to my generation, there's a lot of we were the models that we were looking at, the films, what people said, what the leaders that we admired, um, the things that they said, they were all fear based. So a lot of the CEOs and leaders of my generation, we're still caught up with that fear-based mentality, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
distrust, and there's a lot of stuff that you also, I mean, you mentioned during when we discussed what are the dysfunction of a team, the
Yeah.
dysfunctions of a, yeah, or or is it the elements of a dysfunctional team?
Yes, it's the five dysfunctions of
The
a
five
team. Yes,
dysfunctions.
it's from the work of Patrick Lencioni. Yes, and he has a book on it. He actually has a large body of work on the subject. Um, Highly recommend the work of Patrick Lencioni, actually. Yes. And what you're saying really resonates with me, and it's kind of my experience with the executives that I work with, that we do work together to actually try and change that default of the fear-based default, being the place where they fall down to, rather than rising up to the place of opportunity, to the place of innovation, um, engagement. Yeah.
So what can we, let's say now, having cleared the concept of leadership, right? It's not being a manager, and being that we're all leaders, at least of our own lives, right? As you very ably, I mean, this comes to something that you gave me. I got it from you. Um, what can we do to improve our emotional intelligence as leaders of any type?
Yeah, there are many practices to improve emotional intelligence, and I can start to list a few of them. I think what's most important to realize is that working the emotional intelligence is like working any other muscle, and we have to go to the gym, and we can read about the gym, and we can read about the best way to lift weights and about the best way to run, and it might be useful, but it's not at all as useful as actually practicing, going out and running, going out and lifting weights. And emotional intelligence, what is great about it is that the weights are all around us. Like, for someone to develop emotional intelligence, they can develop it in any conversation. They can even develop it, they don't even need a conversation. They can be sitting at home with themselves and develop emotional intelligence. It's an opportunity to develop self-awareness and self-management. What I would say is, first of all, there needs to be a clear commitment. I want to improve in emotional intelligence. Okay. And understand what are the results, more or less, that someone is aiming for. Right? So when someone walks into a gym, the first thing that a personal trainer asks is, what are your objectives? What do you want to work on? Because then they are able to create a kind of program for them. So it's very important to know, okay, what are you aiming for? Are you aiming for better communication? Okay. Are you aiming for having more self-management in times of crisis, for example? Are you wanting to be a better manager? What is it? And then from there, revert back to, okay, what is needed in order to develop those skills? Some of it might be as simple as learning communication techniques. So many people, I think, get into trouble because they communicate ineffectively. What they say, what comes out of their mouth, is different from what they mean to say. But then the message being distorted, this creates all kinds of problems. Yeah. To make it more simple, I would say that developing emotional intelligence has to start small and then grow bit by bit. But for example, 5 minutes of meditation every day for 2 or 3 times a day can go a long way with regards to developing self-awareness and self-management. And here, the regularity is more important than the durability. So if someone meditates every day for 5 minutes, or do breathing practices, it doesn't have to be meditation, just breathing practices, trying to be present. If they do that every day for 5 minutes for 30 days, I prefer that a lot more than if they do 5 hours one day throughout the month. Because one of them creates a habit of being present. And that goes a long way. And there are other techniques. I don't know if you want me to share other techniques right now, or
yeah, please.
Okay, sure. I mean, I think the pause as well, learning to pause before speaking.
To pause.
To pause.
Okay.
The pause is emotional intelligence's best friend.
I need to hear that.
It's really the emotional intelligence best friend. Like, if you pause, take 10 seconds. No need to be in a rush, slowing things down. And then it helps to act rather than react. Yeah. What are other techniques? I think it's important too, in terms of emotional intelligence, the self-awareness piece is not only about the awareness of the moment, it's also about awareness of who we are. What are our triggers? What are our values? What are the things that truly satisfy us? What are the things that completely dissatisfy us? Going into that kind of self-knowledge is very important. Now, some people work with a coach. A lot of my coachees, we go into this kind of work together. But it can be also as simple as sitting down and writing things down. Okay, well, who am I? What do I really care about? What are my values? And going a bit deeper helps a lot as well. I'm having a blank right now in terms of more exercises. I know there are lots of them. I can share them.
Before you
in the notes.
Before you broke down the different stages of emotional intelligence, you said there was the awareness, the self-awareness, and then?
Yeah. Self-management.
Yes.
Social awareness, relationship management, and empathy.
So self-management?
Social awareness.
Social awareness.
Relationship management.
Relationship management.
And empathy.
And empathy. So there's 4 elements. Okay. So we manage ourselves. It's the awareness with others, how we manage relationship with others, and then connection, and then kindness, and connection.
I think that's what you would describe as empathy.
Yeah. How would you describe empathy?
I think empathy at the core is being able to truly connect to someone's experience.
Okay.
Without rejecting our own experience.
Yeah. I recently heard it says empathy is a compassionate thing to do. I thought it was quite.
Yeah, I like that, because I like when things can be translated into something that's measurable. Because otherwise it's too complicated to develop, to grow within it. And being kind and being more compassionate by itself is an exercise of increasing empathy.
Gotcha.
It's slowly, but it's also, meditation is the same. Self-awareness is the same.
How do you put together leadership and compassion? How do you see the coexistence of that?
I would say leadership without compassion is very risky. It is very risky. And I think that we're seeing the effects of that. We've seen the effects of that. Um, yeah, it's out there, that's for sure.
Mm.
But it's very risky.
Yeah, I also I heard I think it was the CEO or the former CEO of LinkedIn, who is an amazing guy, and who I try to listen to a lot, and my intention of being a compassionate leader or to lead from compassion. Um, and he said, compassion without ownership and responsibility doesn't really work. And I found that I found that profound.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. You know, I think this touches on something. This definition of compassion as being this soft little teddy bear thing, you know,
yeah,
and kindness too. And I really think that there's a huge misconception there. You know, I think kindness can be one of the most courageous and, if you like, masculine thing to do sometimes. Same with compassion. Sometimes compassion looks like tough love. Sometimes compassion looks like a clear no. You know, sometimes compassion looks like get your shit together, okay, because I care for you, and what you're doing right now is hurting you and hurting the people around you. You know, and it's not all just soft and mushy. No, that's wrong. You know, um,
I think
and
that's
I think
it's
it's a
so
very
misleading.
important. Yes, yes, it is very misleading because such a wasted opportunity. You know, people in charge, executives from your generation, I hear a lot speaking about we're here to do work. We're not here to speak about feelings. You know, um, but there's such a huge
Yeah.
opportunity. You know, there's such a huge opportunity because feelings are a huge part of the human experience. And if we know how to leverage them effectively, then guess what? The work gets better, the results get better,
Yeah.
and the quality of life of your employees, of your group, of yourself gets better.
Yeah,
Um,
one of the things that becomes, I think, one of the reasons why you hear that kind of comment is because I think the leaders of my generation, and I'm 52, 50, I'm 53, I think. Let's see, somewhere there, and I think that it it ties together with two of my favorite TED Talks. One is Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and the book, which I've read a few times, and Brene Brown's The Power of Vulnerability, and the Gifts of Imperfection. And, and I think it has to do with vulnerability. It has to do with being able to tap into our why. So when we speak from our why, we speak from a place of our values and our beliefs. And it's almost impossible to talk about my values and not make myself vulnerable. And that's why
nice.
that's such a good helpful token in a way, because
Yeah.
it allows us to tap into a place without losing without the fear of vulnerable means that I am weak, vulnerability and weakness, that sort of a confusion that exists there. So I think that a lot of leaders from my generation and their fear of vulnerability then feel that talking about emotions is actually, I mean, if I open those floodgates, what's going to happen, right? I
Yeah.
remember I was talking to a leader of an organization, a good friend of mine, and I said to her, we have a counselor, coach that sees all the members of the team, including me, and I work with my son, so it also sees us together as a couple, and I said, I have never been able to separate the person, emotional me, from the leader me and the professional me. So I cannot expect any of the members of my team to be able to do it. So I want to have a place where they can bring this safe space where this can be done, and then how I want to create a culture where we take care of that, where the whole individual we can bring all of ourselves into the environment and be able to discuss all kind of subjects. And she said to me,
Yeah.
why would you do that? But convinced. And she had just come back from like an international MBA, so she was very excited about everything that she had learned. And she said to me, why would you do that? Why would you open that kind of worms? Who
Oh,
cares? you know
can of worms.
and I thought
So,
at the
so
time,
the assumption that you have worms inside.
well, it's an expression in English. No, a
Yes,
kind of
yes,
worms.
yes.
A kind of worms is that you open a set of
I hear
problems,
you.
yeah, you didn't have. Yeah, exactly. The picture is not it's not great. And then what it was sad is that about a year later, one of her colleagues, one of her uh, team members had a suffer from burnout and had a breakdown out
Yeah,
of that. And that really all of these little things is what have taught me how could okay, how should I follow. And that for me was so interesting when we met, and I thought, okay, there's something here for us to learn and grow, there's something here for me to learn and grow. And these four elements or these four areas of emotional intelligence, it's really, really important, the clarity with it. Something else that we saw in moving forward a little bit, Eli, was the concept of the five dysfunctions of a team and the framework of that. Can we talk a little bit about that? I
yes.
found that
I'd
very
love to
juicy.
talk about that. Yes, I'd love to talk about it. And I also don't want to miss the opportunity to say something related to what you were saying. Um, a lot of people assume that they can go to work, turn their feelings off, be that specific person at work, and then once work is done, come back home and be a completely different person where they can switch the lid off and all of that. But guess what? Unless you are Bruce Lee and you are a master, this is not happening. And there are huge effects on our personal lives of going to work and shutting everything off and stiffing upper lip and not expressing oneself properly. And one of those things is coming back home and exploding. And this is something else that I see a lot with my coachees, people who are deeply caring, who for a long time in their career have had to stiff upper lip, and at work they are so amiable with their colleagues. They make huge efforts, and at home they explode. And the people whom they care about most, they show up um, the least well for.
Mm. The
So
least
there's a big misconception.
kindness and empathy.
Yes, the least um, the less effective in communication. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because it's a misconception. It's a misconception that needs to be, I believe, needs to be brought up to the surface. You can't be someone at work and someone completely different at home. It doesn't work that way.
Um, I really, to the point that I don't think that even, Bruce Lee, or I don't think it's possible. There's something really interesting that Brown says in her book. I don't know if it was I think it was The Man in the Arena, and how do you call,
Yes,
her
Theodore
third book.
Roosevelt.
Yeah, the
Oh, oh,
in
oh,
her
okay.
in her third book, which is, I think, is called Daring Greatly. Daring Greatly. She says that one of the problems when we numb one emotion is that we numb it all.
Yeah,
And yes, we numb pain, we numb the fear of being vulnerable, we numb, we do a lot of numbing. And then we also numb joy and love and self-expression.
yeah,
We it is really, it's almost impossible, or impossible, because we would have to really act it out. It is us separating from our essence,
yeah,
and I see that as an impossibility. I don't have, and I don't know anybody that has that skill set, because anyone that is evolved enough to be able to do it then doesn't need to do it, because there's flow, right? You're able to be yourself, or one is able to be oneself in whatever environment you're able to be, and you're able to create a harmony between work and um, um, life. In this whole thing about work-life balance, that I mean, I have a whole racket against that, because I
yeah,
think that I believe in work-life harmony or work-life integration. I want to be, I love my job. So why am I not living when I am working? And why
yeah,
am I not working when I am living, if I adore absolutely what I do? How
right.
do we can make the two things coexist?
Yes, yeah. It's a very different place to come from, very different mindset.
Mm.
Yeah,
So should we use that as a
yeah,
segue to talk a little about the concept of the five dysfunction of a team, and the
yes,
framework of that?
yes, sure, yeah. The five dysfunctions of a team is a framework created by Patrick Lencioni. He has a book on it. Anyone listening can Google it, and you'll find it immediately. And its premise is very simple. It looks like a pyramid with five stages that build on each other. And the concept is to bring to life things that can be intangible or unseen when it comes to team dynamics, but they are very much affecting the results. They're very much affecting the environment. And the first one of all of this, and what he calls a dysfunction, is the absence of trust. So if there is no trust, already the main pillar of team effectiveness is absent, and this is going to cause trouble. It's going to cause trouble because, again, going to that framework, it's going to cause a avoidance of conflict. If there's no trust, conflict cannot be approached. It cannot be because it's unsafe to approach conflict. If conflict is not approached, then what needs to be talked about, what truly needs to be talked about, is not talked about. And what that does is affect commitment. It affects commitment of every team member. The commitment, the absence of commitment translates into an absence of accountability. And if there is no accountability, the results suffer. That is its premise. It's easy premise, it's framework, which is complete common sense, when we reflect on it. If there's no trust, we can't approach conflict productively, and it's going to affect the level of commitment, the level of engagement, the level of involvement that people have, which is going to affect the accountability and how people are holding each other accountable. Not only if they are holding each other accountable, but how they are holding each other accountable. Are they pointing fingers? Are they being passive aggressive? Because passive aggressive is like throwing poison in a relationship. It really is. And then, obviously, the results will suffer. Obviously. And in my own career, I've been on both sides of the coin. I've made my own mistakes, and I've been in teams that were, quote unquote, ineffective, dysfunctional, and I've been on the other end of it. And I can tell you, it's a whole world of difference. A whole world of difference. And something is coming to me now, that is, people will be in dysfunctional teams, will accept being in dysfunctional teams as long as one factor is present. They're getting the amount of money they need to say, I'm getting paid, so I'm going to stick through this. But I can guarantee, and I'm sure that HR managers, executives, maybe even you will agree with me. These people, if you go to them and say, listen, I need to cut off your salary by half tomorrow because we have a crisis, these people will leave. The opposite is not necessarily true. People who have more of their needs met when it comes to teamwork, when it comes to being in an effective environment, being in a productive environment, being in an environment where they feel that they contribute, that they have something to bring to the table that is valuable, and they are welcome. If executives need to cut their salaries for some reason or not, these people have a lot more chances to say, yes, I'll stick it through. It's about more than the money. It has always been about more than the money. It has always been, but we've created an environment where money was the number one speaker. Anyways, I don't want to go into that. I get passionate about this because I've seen it so often, and I've seen it. Effects,
I can understand. It's a big. I think it's a big issue. How can I mean, you explained that the first thing is a lack of trust, and then it escalates, right? It takes you from trust to conflict, commitment, accountability, etc., right? It goes. It's a very clear path. How does one create trust in an organization? What do you think leaders can do of teams and companies or smaller teams to create trust? What do we do?
Yeah, I think a great way to create trust, and I might get stoned for this, is to be vulnerable as a manager, as someone in charge. Is to say, you know what, I don't have it all figured out, and I'm willing to be open about it, and I want to collaborate together. Okay, because members of the team feel that anyhow, whether they realize it or not, they feel that anyhow. I think that honest conversations, truly honest conversations without any agenda in the background, can go a long way in creating trust. But it's not only that. You know, people need to feel that they are truly being cared for, and the agenda of the managers, of the executives, is not only a self-serving agenda. It's a bigger agenda. You know, I like a lot that what you speak about with regards to you care so much about the growth of your people. And I promise you, John, unfortunately, when I met you, after working at 4 different companies, you're the first CEO whom I've heard saying that.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, I think the concept of being genuine, of being true, is an important one for building trust. But also, trust is built over time, you know, through trial and error, through hardship, through experience. It's built. So it's both. It's both. But in the workshops that I run, and you've been part of it, you know, we go through an exercise where we're just being vulnerable with each other. We're just exchanging genuinely with each other. And it doesn't fail that after that exercise, I ask people to say, have your level of trust increased with the other person? And they all raise their hands. And they trust each other more because they know each other more. And they know each other more than just, you know, he's my colleague and that's how he's expected to behave, or she's expected to behave. That's what I have for now. There might be more to it, of course, and I'm happy to share it if people have.
Sure. Yeah, I'm aware that we're approaching the hour. Incredible. Yeah. This has gone really, really quickly. Being strongly led by Lorena from my team to finish within the hour and to make sure that I finish before the hour. And I wanted to say thank you, Elie. Let's do this again. I think that we could go deeper into the dysfunction of a team framework. I think that would be an excellent idea. I think also that I would be really looking forward to an online version of Lead from Within, and to do the whole thing. Tell me a little bit everything that happens in Lead from Within before we close. We have about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, so Lead from Within is a set of experiential exercises that are backed by very simple theory. And the main purpose of Lead from Within is for a team, a group of people to come together. And this has been done within one corporate group. It has been done for the faculty of universities, but it also has been done independently for individuals. And everyone has gotten a lot out of it. The purpose of it is for individuals to grow in their emotional intelligence, to grow in their understanding of what makes for effective teamwork, but also to realize what gets in their own way of creating effective teamwork. Yeah, so we are all quote unquote guilty. It's about raising that awareness, developing the muscles of emotional intelligence, and through it, developing leadership qualities. By developing emotional intelligence, by understanding the team dynamics, and by having the courage to step up and to share vulnerably what they really care about, what their aspirations are, and what they're committing to. So there's an aspect of self-discovery there as well.
I love
individuals who
that.
come through it.
I love that aspiration, discovery, aspirations, commitment. I love that triad.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, one of the things of developing emotional intelligence is to dig again into our aspirations. You know, is to dig into our vision and our personal aspirations, not only the group aspirations. It's very important because it gives us a true north to look forward to, you know, and yeah. So all of this comes together in one experiential setting, and it's already available online. I'm already ready to deploy it online. The extra that happens when it's part of one corporate group is that everyone is the level of emotional intelligence, the level of skill rises together. But not only that, one of the participants once said, in a day, I learned more about my colleagues than I did in 2 years. That was at the same time saddening to me and at the same time very humbling to hear.
I can fully understand.
Yes, it really creates more trust in a group. Of course,
Great.
it has to be flourished, but it creates that.
Excellent.
So yeah.
Okay. Again, I'm John Martinez. I'm the CEO and founder at Shock Logic. I'm a compassionate leader, and I aspire to lead by compassion. And I'm absolutely passionate about the development of human potential. And I happen to do this within the team, so I'm very lucky. I have these wonderful people around me. And I've been talking for the last hour with Elie Dagher, the creator of Lead From Within, and the leader of Lead From Within, coach, young guru, and an inspiring man altogether, and a wonderful friend to me. And thank you very much, all of you, for staying with us. Thank you for, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you were able to get something good out of this. We're going to do this more often. I'm going to have other conversations with Elie, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you, Elie.
Yes, great. I just want to tell the people in the audience, I hope they enjoyed it. If they have any questions, they do not hesitate to ask. I'm happy to answer any question. And if they want to reach me, they can just do it on LinkedIn through Elie Dagher on LinkedIn, founder of Lead From Within. You can reach me there, send me a message, whatever.
Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah. Thank you, John. This was fun.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
All the best.